The difference between a line edit and a developmental edit. My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. When you are working with a freelance editor, this is something that you should definitely check in with them and make sure that you understand the way that they are using those terms. So I'm going to tell you the way that I use them in my business, but this is not going to be exact across everybody's business. Everybody's going to have a slightly different definition, a slightly different variation on the way that they operate their business. So ask. If people are asking me what comes with a line edit, this seems a lot more expensive, I will sometimes send them sample pages that have been line edited, or I will send them a developmental edit letter and be like, look, this is what some clients are going to get at the end of a developmental edit. Yours isn't going to look exactly like this, but the idea is the same. So for me, developmental edits are looking at something that is big picture. So we are talking about completed story arcs, character arcs. Is the structure of the novel good and sound, and does the pacing make sense? Those are the big things that I'm going to be addressing. I will speak a little bit to marketability, and I will speak a little bit to like, hey, by the way, this might be a little bit like inappropriate or racist or sexist or something. You might want to rethink this. You usually will get a manuscript with comments or questions in the margins from me, and so these are not necessarily telling you that you must fix these things, but like, hey, this is a question that I had as a reader, and this is a question that I had as a fairly savvy and sophisticated reader, somebody who reads a lot of books. And so if I'm not understanding what it is you're doing, there's a good chance that most of the reading population also isn't going to understand it. So I recommend you address this differently, not necessarily here and in the way that I am asking, but that you work something into the novel that helps make this make sense a little bit more. None of those things are edicts or pronouncements or rules that you have to live by. They are just like questions, comments, things that popped up while I was reading that I thought you might want to address in order to give your reader and your audience a little bit more clarity. And then I send along an edit letter that usually has like 2 to 4 things that I think you need to address in the manuscript overall, with some suggestions about how to do that, why it matters, where I noticed it happening specifically. But again, these are not rules. These are not like you must do them or the book will never get published. These are just things that I thought of. And you might look at this and be like, I actually have a better idea for how to fix this, but it is going to address the overall concern. So that is a developmental edit. I am not checking for grammar or proofreading. I am not doing line edits. I'm not fact checking anything. This is just like, is the story complete? Are we looking at complete story arcs? Is the pacing correct? I will often like 50% of the time the structure and the pacing is incorrect, and so I will plug the story into a beat sheet and be like, this is what you have right now, and if you look at this other tab, this is what I think it could be. And so you're going to have to make some cuts and changes in order to make that happen, in order to make that pacing feel more natural to your audience. A line edit, on the other hand, is something much more detailed. This is where I am going in and I am checking at the line level. Does the writing, is it consistent with itself? I include a proofread in mine because I can't figure out how to separate those two things out. And so my line edit includes a proofread. So I am checking for grammar, spelling, word choice, punctuation, basic formatting things like, are you putting double spaces after your period? Do you have like indents in places where they don't make sense? So I will remove those for you. But then I am doing all of the ticky-tacky stuff that you probably think of as an editor doing, and this is the stuff that makes people hate their editors, in which I am saying like, hey, yeah, that character had green eyes on page 105 and now they have blue eyes, which is it? Or I am saying like, hey, you said that this character is in Santa Monica in February and they're sweating. No, sorry, sweetie, it's 50 degrees outside. They're not sweating. And this gets very annoying. Like, authors get very, very annoyed with like, none of this matters. But this is all of the stuff that readers and reviewers will flag as needed more editing. This is the stuff that jumps out on the page that people get very annoyed by. When you say that your bodybuilder is trying to get 200 milligrams of protein a day, that needed to be caught by a line editor. This is the type of stuff that readers latch onto that doesn't usually affect the story, but it ends up affecting the readability and the enjoyability of the story. Because authors are very invested in story and character, they often miss these details. That's what the difference between a line edit and a developmental edit, at least in my business. And again, ask the editor that you are working with to explain those to you.